Okay, this is a Dell Inspiron 5000. We've had a number of these Dells back because they have this issue. The hinge mechanism fails here. What actually happens is there are threaded brass inserts that are glued into the back cover and they come out. So now you have nothing to screw into. See the holes where they used to be? So we get quite a few of these back. So what I'm going to try and do is see if I can fix this using just a piece of steel.
I thought it might be easier to use a graphic on the screen to fully explain how the hinge mechanism works and of course how it fails. This is the back cover from a Dell Inspiron laptop. This is a threaded brass insert. As you can see when we zoom in, there are 3 of these threaded brass inserts molded into the back cover in the bottom right, and there are 3 of these threaded brass inserts molded into the back cover in the bottom left. There are 2 hinges, one on the left and one on the right, and these hinges are fixed to the back cover with 3 screws on each side. So what could possibly go wrong with this? Well, what does go wrong is the hinges are actually quite tight, and this puts a lot of stress on those brass inserts. And what you'll find on the laptop that I have this week for repair, and on a number of Dell Inspirons, Vostros and Latitudes that I've got over the last few years, is that these threaded brass inserts break out of the back cover. And it'll look something like this, so that you have now no means of fixing the hinge to the back cover. Now my solution to this fault up to this point has been to simply just buy a new back cover and swap that back cover with the one that has the failed brass inserts on it. This is a lot more time consuming than you would think, because sometimes you have to swap over the wireless cable, the webcam and mic, and you have to swap over the screen. So it means you have to carefully remove the screen from the old back cover and fit it into the new one, so you have to take your time with it. But I wanted to try something different. Now I'm sure some of you are probably saying, why don't you just get the hinge, place it down into the bottom corner, get a load of hot glue and fasten it to the back cover that way. Well, I've done that a number of times and I've had some success with it, and then I've had other ones where it's just broken out almost immediately and the laptop has come back to me. So what I'm going to try and do today is a little bit experimental, but I'm going to see if I can work out a better solution than hot glue. Before we start, this is a list of the things that we need. We need 6 M3 screws with washers. We need a flat steel bar. The one I bought was 1000mm by 16mm by 2mm. We need a 2mm drill bit and a 3mm tap. What we need to do first is to lie the broken back cover down on the table. Take the piece of flat steel, move it behind the back cover, and try to line the top of the flat steel up with some point on both sides of the back cover to keep it straight. When you have it lined up straight, it's useful to get a clamp and just clamp this down to the table in position. Just be careful that if you have a cable, if you still have the LVDS cable in when you're doing it, not to clamp that obviously. With the back cover and the flat steel fixed in place with the clamp, I then take my 2 hinges and put them back into their original positions. While holding the hinge in position, I then got my drill with the 2.5mm drill bit and drilled straight through the center of each of the holes in the hinge, right through the back cover and through the flat steel. And just to show you how I set this up, I've put the hinge back in its original position because I'm going to use it as a guide to tell me where I need to drill the holes. Okay, so I place my drill in and I drill through the center, through the back cover and through the flat steel also. So when I finished that first one, I did the same for the second hole here and the third one, and then I drilled the 3 holes through the other hinge on the other side also. So after drilling our 6 holes, we can take away our piece of flat steel, and what you'll see is we now have 6 holes in it. Okay, we've got 6 holes that are all 2.5mm. So what do we do now? Well, now we need to put a thread in these. Okay, so what I'm going to use for that is our 3mm tap. Next, I use my 3mm tap to cut out a thread for an M3 screw in each of those 6 holes.
And now that we have all 6 holes threaded for M3 screws, I'm going to put it back in place. I've got the steel bar behind the back cover again, and we're going to start screwing in all the screws. I've also got washers here, M3 washers, and this is my M3 screw that I'm going to screw in. Let's do the others. So after screwing in all of my screws, this is what they look like. So they are screwing through the back cover and into the thread in my flat steel plate. Now this is how it looks from the other side. So as you can see, we have those M3 screws protruding. That's not an issue. We can either snip those off with a strong pliers or cut them with a hacksaw and then sand it down to make sure it's smooth. So we can do that on both sides. As you see, I've put another hole, a tapped hole in the middle here. So I'm worried about this coming out. So I think it might be useful to put another screw through here to keep this fastened against the back cover. Also, as I'm sure you noticed, the bar is not cut to length as yet. I'm trying to decide whether I'm going to try and do a curve here to make it look really fancy, because the edges of the laptop are curved and they're curved on this side as well. I think I might just go for a straight cut for the moment and see how this solution works out.
I snipped off the bits of the M3 screws that were sticking out, and I filed it down to make sure that those screws were flush with the top of the flat steel. Now when I lift that up, you can see it's a very robust and strong connection. It's probably a lot stronger than the original. Next, I sanded it down just to take off all of the sharp edges, but it still looks a bit industrial at this point, so I'm going to try spray painting it and see if it makes it look a bit prettier.
And with a bit of spray paint, as you can see, it scrubs up quite well. Of course, the main question is, does it function well? Well, as you can see here, the hinge goes back and forth with ease. And if I wanted to, I can lift up the laptop and there is no issue with it. It's very, very strong. So I think this is a good solution. Please post in the comments below what you think, and I'll be very interested to hear your views. If there's any updates on it, I'm going to work with this for the next couple of months and see what happens. But I'll certainly post down in the comments below whether it broke off or whether I had any negative repercussions from fixing it this way.